The night was warm, the air thick with the hum of engines and the flash of distant headlights. On June 29, 1967, a Buick Electra sped down a dark Louisiana highway. Inside, Hollywood bombshell Jayne Mansfield sat in the front seat, laughing softly, unaware that within minutes, her life, so dazzling, so tragic, so impossibly glamorous, would come to an abrupt and horrifying end. The crash that followed would shock the world, leaving behind a swirl of rumors, shattered dreams, and haunting photographs that still echo through time. But long before that fateful night, Jayne had been more than a tabloid headline. She had been a dreamer, a mother, a genius hidden behind platinum curls, and a woman who lived and died chasing the idea of love and fame. Her story began on April 19, 1933. In Bryn Mawr, Pennsylvania, born Vera Jane Palmer. She was the only child of a modest family, her father an attorney who adored her, her mother a teacher with a quiet strength. When Jayne was just 3 years old, tragedy struck. Her father died suddenly of a heart attack while driving with her in the car. That loss left a deep mark on her soul, igniting a lifelong hunger for affection and attention, for the kind of love that could never disappear without warning. Even as a child, she told people she wanted to be famous, not just seen, but remembered. Growing up, Jayne was both brilliant and ambitious. She was a straight-A student, fluent in 5 languages, and a classically trained musician who played the violin and piano. Few knew that behind the image that would one day make her famous, there was a mind both sharp and curious. But Hollywood rarely had room for cleverness wrapped in beauty. When she moved to Los Angeles in the early 1950s with her first husband, Paul Mansfield, she had one clear goal: to conquer the movies. She attended acting classes, posed for publicity photos, and studied the industry with precision. Yet every door seemed to close before she could step through it. Casting directors saw her potential, but also compared her to someone else, Marilyn Monroe. That comparison would define her career. Determined not to be a copy but a queen of her own making, Jayne embraced the image of the blonde bombshell and turned it into her greatest weapon. When a wardrobe malfunction at a 1955 film premiere caught the attention of photographers, Jayne didn't shy away, she smiled for the cameras. The next morning, she was a sensation. Hollywood might have been slow to take her seriously, but the public couldn't look away. She was bold, playful, and irresistibly aware of her power. Her big break came in 1956 with The Girl Can't Help It, a technicolor explosion of music and comedy that turned Jayne into a pop culture icon. She wasn't just acting. She was creating a character, a satire of Hollywood's obsession with sex and stardom. Critics may have dismissed her as another blonde fantasy, but audiences loved her. Then came Will Success Spoil Rock Hunter? Where she proved she could deliver both laughs and allure with perfect timing. The awards followed, the magazine covers multiplied, and Jayne Mansfield became a name no one could ignore. But behind the flashbulbs, her heart was never still. Jayne's marriage to Paul Mansfield dissolved under the weight of her ambitions, and soon she found herself entangled in the passionate, tumultuous world of love affairs. Her marriage to bodybuilder Mickey Hargitay seemed like a fairy tale, the blonde goddess and the muscleman husband, and together they were Hollywood's most photographed couple. Their lavish pink mansion, complete with heart-shaped swimming pool, became a symbol of Jayne's over-the-top glamour. They had 3 children, including Mariska Hargitay, who would one day follow her mother's path into acting. Yet fame, as Jayne learned, was both a crown and a curse. The roles that once brought her joy began to vanish. The film industry was changing, and Jayne's carefully crafted image was starting to feel like a trap. Studios wanted her to remain the same forever, the bubbly blonde with the perfect figure and breathless voice, but Jayne wanted more. She longed to be respected as an actress, to play dramatic roles that reflected her intelligence. When Hollywood turned its back, she found work in nightclubs and cabarets, performing for adoring crowds in Europe and Las Vegas. But behind the smiles and sequins, money troubles, heartbreak, and exhaustion were slowly taking their toll. Her personal life unraveled almost as quickly as her fame. Her marriage to Hargitay ended in divorce, followed by a brief and stormy union with director Matt Cimber. The tabloids feasted on her every misstep, turning her real struggles into public spectacle. Jayne tried to reclaim control, appearing on talk shows, recording songs, and even studying religion and philosophy in search of peace. But the pressures of stardom never truly loosened their grip. She began to drink heavily, often masking her sadness with laughter, and then came that tragic night in 1967, the one that would seal her story forever in Hollywood legend. Driving from a nightclub appearance in Biloxi toward New Orleans, Jayne's car collided with the rear of a truck hidden by a cloud of pesticide fog. The impact was devastating. She was just 34 years old. Her 3 young children, sleeping in the back seat, miraculously survived. The news of her death sent shockwaves through the world. The glamorous Jayne Mansfield, the eternal blonde starlet, Was gone in an instant. In the aftermath, myths and morbid tales spread, rumors of decapitation, whispers of curses, all feeding the dark fascination that had followed her throughout her life. But beyond the gossip and tragedy, what remained was the legacy of a woman who dared to live loudly in an era that demanded silence. Jayne had built herself from nothing, fought her way into stardom with wit and charisma, and refused to let anyone else define her. Even in death, she remained unforgettable. Today, when we look back at Jayne Mansfield's most private photos, the ones where she isn't performing, but simply existing, we see the truth of her life. A woman of contradictions, intelligent yet underestimated, adored yet lonely, powerful yet fragile. Her story is one of ambition and consequence, beauty and heartbreak. A reminder of how fleeting fame can be, and so, that final drive down a quiet Louisiana highway becomes more than a tragedy, it becomes a symbol. Jayne Mansfield lived fast, loved deeply, and refused to dim her own light, even when it burned too brightly for the world around her. If you were moved by her story, by the beauty and the heartbreak behind Hollywood's golden smile, remember to like, comment, and subscribe for more untold stories of the stars who defined an era.